So, my question to everybody today is the following: how to use a Cyclops in a fun and interesting way in your role playing game, Pathfinder Dungeons and Dragons, Tunnels and Trolls, mazes and monsters. Maybe not that one, but like, how would you go about using the the thing that has one eye? And we're going to go straight to AJ because he probably knows more about this than anybody. So AJ.
So Cyclops, properly pronounced in Greek, Kyklopis. They
Mm.
were the children of Kronos and the Titans, basically. So they were the pre-existing generation of Greek gods, servants and children, and they were kind of involved in the conflict between the Titans and the new gods of Olympus taking over, and they kind of helped out Zeus. And Zeus's thunderbolt was most famously created by the Cyclops for him. So they basically got left alone by the new Greek gods. So there were these monstrous, huge, single-eyed humanoids, good at crafting and all that sort of stuff. They have their own culture and civilization. They're not just one lone Cyclops on an island somewhere. But the general idea was you just leave them alone because they've done their work, they've done their good deeds for the current gods, and the mortals should just leave them be. So every interaction you have with the Cyclops was kind of like, where were the gods' involvement in this? It's like hands off. If you get involved with them, it's your own fault. Now, I like the Cyclops in Dungeons and Dragons because they're very hard to change what they are. They're a single-eyed giant humanoid, and I like the idea that they can either live in remote locations and have their own culture and society, which is completely divorced from anything else. They're ancient. They could have previous lost civilizations of giant ruins of impressive size, but they're not connected to the giants of any other sort of giant thing because they're their own species that are not connected that way. And they're also grumpy and angry that people come and bother them, and that their ancient history was a litany of things that have gone wrong, and they've been abused and used, and they've done their part and never been rewarded, and that sort of thing. So they've got a big chip on their shoulder. The other thing I really like is attaching legends to why they don't have one eye, kind of like with the Grunch thing, or if you've ever watched the movie Krull, it's a perfect example of there's a Cyclops called Grell who explains that their eye was taken away from them for the gift to see the future, but all they can see is the future of their own death. So yeah,
Mm.
I really like that mythology aspect to them, and I quite encourage you to check out the actual Greek origin of their story because it will inform your games a lot better than Dungeons and Dragons lore does.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, if you look at the history of the Cyclops, there's probably three stories that sort of stand out, right? One that sort of suggests it's very primitive, and that's Homer's Odyssey, and then there's the creation, as you mentioned, of the Greek gods' weapons, and then the construction of, I can't remember which city or wall it is, but there's a special wall that's sort of like literally
Generally, lots of
indestructible.
big walls. Yeah.
Yes, there were quite a few. It was like if you wanted anything made that was going to stand up, like a castle wall or a city wall, you got a Cyclops involved.
They're almost like the dwarves of the Greek mythology.
Yeah, just for much larger things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, would you like to give us some ideas here?
Yeah, so like I said, on our channel, we're all about the fun. So I like to think of very unusual ways to use monsters. We typically see them as an adversary, and obviously my groups usually turn into murder hobos. They just, kill something that's different than you, which is a terrible, terrible way to be. So I like to mix it up a little bit and bring in some unusual NPCs. So I would like to use. I have an idea for a Cyclops that he's gone a little bit different. He's gone off into the actually where people are at, but he's become a farmer. He sees a need because he's always hungry. One of the things is that it's hard to find something for a growing orc to or a cyclops to feed that stomach. So everything they eat is so small; it just takes a lot of it. So he's kind of a little entrepreneur because he's got this idea where he grows vegetables and livestock that are bigger than anything that humans have. He's got some help to be able to grow, like say, livestock that's bigger than normal and these vegetables. But he's doing it. He's selling these things. He's interacting with he's selling to bigger people, bigger animals, other races that want big food. He's got this thing going. The other thing I like is because he's hanging around he's kind of around people. He's starting to get a little self-conscious about having only one eye, and he's noticing that a lot of humanoids have two. So he convinced a tinkerer to make him a nice little extra eye that has this thing in the front and it kind of goes off to the side. Now, in his mind, he can see he's got two eyes, but in reality, it's literally just it's like a periscope, but only seeing out this side. So he's still a little not that bright, but he still thinks oh, look, I'm seeing like everybody else, and I look like everyone. But you've definitely noticed it right away. So that's an idea I have for using the Cyclops in a little bit unusual way.
So I feel like this is the perfect product for them is the wraparound sunglasses.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, perfect. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you just don't worry about the bits where
yeah,
the at the top of the changeover from the nose, or brow, or whatever. You
right.
just go
Yeah.
straight across, and it looks like, well, could have two eyes, could have one eye,
He
might
might not. He's very
have three.
self-conscious. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Nice. Yeah.
Dennis, what have you got for us, Cyclops?
So the first thing I thought of when I read the question was what makes a Cyclops unique among all other monsters? And the answer is obvious. It's the single eye. So I tried to think of something cool that would have to do with that, like that it was specific to a Cyclops, not, giants in general. Um, and I started brainstorming. The Cyclops that wants two eyes definitely came to mind, but Mark stole that one already. Um, you could have a Cyclops that has bad vision, so they are
Mhm.
on a quest to collect monocles that are big enough for them to use, and then when it breaks, they have to go on another quest, which is quite
Mm.
often because it's a very large piece of glass. The one I liked the best, though, was when I thought of a Cyclops, I started thinking of the old Disney Hercules movie and the Cyclops that appears in that one. And I didn't like him. He was just a brute that got sent away and was kind of boring as an enemy. What I did like, there are other one-eyed creatures in that movie, and those are the oracles that share a single eye between them. So what if those three old ladies, all with one eye socket, were giant? So you have a coven of Cyclops, all oracles that use their one single eye shared between them to tell visions and cast powerful spells.
That's excellent.
They were bad enough as it was, and you've made them larger. Well done.
I like it. I like that.
It's a good
excellent.
idea.
It would certainly
Yeah.
explain why you don't beat the ideas out of them or the answers, because they're just too physically intimidating.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, you can't do it. Of course, now, has your cat got some ideas to share with us, AJ? Otherwise, we're going to move over to Wally.
She said that the Cyclops need to farm more mice.
Okay, sure.
Mm.
Wally,
Makes
moving
sense.
on.
I'm going to take one of the ideas that the OKSDM felt that they could get rid of on that. So the one where the not very good vision, and that's where I wanted to focus my attention on. So I'm going to go into the Cyclops with a very long idea for a campaign or a reoccurring NPC. And I haven't named my Cyclops yet, so anyone in the chat that wants to name my Cyclops, you're more than welcome to do so. But the adventurers are going to find the Cyclops, and he's been exiled. He's no longer part of the Cyclops Club, or I'm not even going to pretend to know what lore and what they all do together and stuff like that. I'm just focusing on the one eye. That's how I'm going to do my fun with Cyclops here. But they're going to come across it, and this is a really cool Cyclops, very nice and everything. But he can't hit anything. He's got his great club, and he can't hit crap. And then after maybe a little bit of time working with them and things of that nature, the party will find out he's nearsighted. He can't see anything. So now we're going to have to find an ophthalmologist. I did look that word up. I'm pretty sure I'm using that correctly. An ophthalmologist that's going to be able to give him an eye exam and give him this big. And then it's just like, when I was thinking of this, it's like, what is it? It's not glasses, because glasses is two lenses, and I think Dennis hit it. It's a monocle, because otherwise it'd be a glass. So instead of glasses, he's getting glass. And it didn't make as much sense. So we'll go with the monocle. But then he's going to get fitted with this monocle, and he's going to tear stuff up. So now they've got this great ally in a Cyclops. But of course, being an NPC as a DM, I'm going to take that resource away. And then a long time down the road, they're going to meet him again. But now he's like the leader. He like went back to the Cyclops Club or whatever the lore is that they all do together. And now he's leading that. And not only that, but now he's become kind of a tyrant. And he's going to be like, oh yeah, there's my buddies, whatever else. I'm like, hey dude, you're doing stuff you shouldn't be, we're getting a lot of complaints about you and things like that. And he's like, yeah, I don't really care. And he's still got his monocle or his glass, but now he's upgraded it, because I did listen to one of AJ's videos about they're a little bit smitten with beholders and stuff. So he like took the idea of the beholders, just like, I want my monocle to be able to do some cool stuff. So you know how you have like you can have prescription glasses that are tinted, or you can put like stuff over them to like change them, colors and stuff like that. He's going all out. In fact, he'll probably even have like some contact lenses too. So like if you needed to pop out a different color or something like that. But this is going to be able to change the lens on the monocle, so he can have like an anti-magic cone. He can do like slowing spheres, all of that stuff. And all he's got to do is just like flip through the little lenses on his monocle.
Could it be even more horrific, so that if his eye magically regenerates, and so if he needs another eye, he just rips it out and a new chaotic new eye forms that does something different?
I like that. That's good.
I don't.
But that's my idea.
Horrifying.
That's my idea, and that's why I went last.
Well, you didn't go last because I'm going last.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
going to add to your idea very quickly, and that is one of those lenses needs to be a kaleidoscope. You know those old kaleidoscopes, during the 60s that, yeah, very psychedelic.
Oh, like that scene with the Predator, and it's trying to figure out what's going on in the meat warehouse, and it's flicking through its different spectra, and then it spots them. Aha! It's like, ooh, clever.
And then, of course, there's one that you flip that will be hippie or 60s.
Yeah.
Nice.
Going to 60s mode. Toof. So my
Very good.
idea is what's left over. Basically, on my list here, I'm going to suggest a optometrist, a Cyclops optometrist that assists people with eye injuries, providing corrective lenses. Yes, I have literally taken a very simple idea from Real World and decided to plaster it over a Cyclops. Frankly, I couldn't think of anything else, since everything else has sort of been spoken about. And there is one more, but I'm not going to regurgitate it, because I'm going to open up the discussion to everybody. So that means mics are no longer muted. Fire it away, and we'll throw things together.
I was thinking that the idea from mythology that they're an older generation of giant people before a new generation, like if you're going with, say, Forgotten Realms or more traditional D&D settings, they could be a pre-existing native giant species. Whereas, if particularly in Forgotten Realms, the giants are extraterrestrial kind of an origin. Animal was a god that sort of came in from nowhere and then generated the Astorian Empire and all that sort of stuff. So if you go up to a cloud kingdom of a cloud giant, and there's the pens with all of the harpies and rocks and various other giant creatures that they bred during the war with the dragons, for instance, the Cyclops could be the one that's like, that's where the giant space hamsters come from, because they've been breeding mice to be larger and larger, and it's like, oh, I've got this next thing, and it's like, oh, can you try this giant tomato that I've created? And it's like, oh wow, they're agrarian cultural, they're the workers and people that do all the stuff, and the peasants of the giant kingdom, but they're much older.
So the isn't there is a lot of mythology and folklore and story behind the fact that some of the Cyclops actually were breeding with the gods, or some of the more titanic or primal entities in the world, particularly in Greek mythology. I'm pretty sure there are a few.
Very much so. They were very much about the lineage of things, and you get that with a lot of Polynesian culture too. Everything is connected through kaupapa, through family. So it's a lineage. And one of the things with ancient religions is anybody who invades new territory takes on the existing gods of the people they conquered, and they become the older generation of gods. So when the Greeks invaded the Greek islands, there was a pre-existing culture that had the Titans, and if the people that invaded the British Isles, there was a pre-existing culture which was the Fomorians. So, you know, you can look at those sort of examples, and even introduce those with whole new pantheons that have got pre-existing pantheons, and that explains the ruins of previous existing people. So maybe the Netherese gods are worshipped by the people in the Anarok Desert as the pre-generators of their new gods. So you can introduce that as a cultural element.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say whatever happens on Mount Olympus stays on Mount Olympus, but I like that answer too.
Well, it begs the question, because I mean, when you look at sort of questions around how old does a Cyclops live for, and if you look at the mythology that is there, outside of Dungeons and Donuts, I mean Dungeons and Dragons, what you soon find is there's real no indication. They it could be centuries, it could be even longer than that. They sort of
Or shorter.
or shorter, yeah, depending on how things are going. You know, particularly if you've got a bunch of sheep in a cave, right, and some sailors show up, decide to steal your food, and then poke your eye out, then yeah, you don't live long.
Hang that, Ulysses.
I do want to so chat's on fire tonight. There's some really good stuff in there. I just want to point out a few. Nacho Man says, can a Cyclops be cross-eyed? And who was it here? Yeah, Mr. L comes back with could have two irises that look at each other. So you could have like the one eye with two irises. So yeah, I guess a Cyclops. That was pretty good. Josiah Dungeon Dad just said, mom said it's my turn with the eye. I think that goes back to the one whoever was talking about sharing that eye and stuff like that. I love that idea as well. Also, looks like we have a few names for my Cyclops, which I appreciate. We've got Jolly and Biff, it looks like, maybe. A couple good names there. Peeper's a good one. Agile Monk says we can have a telescope for the glasses. I like that as well. So, way to go, chat. This is good. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
So there's one other thing we have to mention, because as we know, Marvel rules all film, and you know it's so my last idea for you is a Cyclops that wears battle armor, full plate battle armor, has a visor, and shoots a heat ray from his single eye when he takes it off.
Oh,
I don't know where I got that idea from.
Oh, that's really original, man.
Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still.
It is actually. Yes, yeah, it's Gort. Is the robot's name Gort? I think it's Gort. Yeah, it's Gort. So for those of you who thought, that's Cyclops from the X-Men, actually it's Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still, and of course AJ knows the reference. Nicely done. Anybody else wanted to add anything?
We were talking about the history of the race, starting out with AJ, and I was starting to think of what if the race history was different. And then someone mentioned the Formians or the Fomorians, which also are a race that exists in Dungeons and Donuts. And they are giants that have like a messed up history. Like they're a race that got, classic, like almost all the other Underdark races, like had some, used to be this beautiful thing until they went down into the basement, What if the Cyclops used to have two eyes? Sort of like the Kenku used to have their own voice, or the Formians used to be this beautiful race of giants. That could lead to some pretty, I don't know, I'd have fun writing that world building, figuring out who stole an eye from an entire race of giants and why.
Well,
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really good idea, and actually, as AJ was pointing out, it's been looked at in a movie that was put out a long time ago called Krull. And yes, it's not an A grade movie. I would say it's more of a B grade movie at this point, and probably
King of the B grade movies.
But
Robbie Coltrane, Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they became famous. They
Yeah.
were a big deal. So yeah,
What's the alignment of a Cyclops? Or
whatever the heck you want.
It's not two alignments; it's just one because it's got
chaotic,
one eye. So
neutral?
it's
I
just lawful or, or chaotic, nothing else.
And with that inflection too, it's lawful, and that's it.
um I don't know, something that that you said there, Dennis, had me thinking as far as, well, what if there was like an evil Cyclops that was jealous of everyone with two eyes, and just like that was the only thing it did was went around. And this is not fun and interesting things with monsters. This is just pretty grotesque
Horrifying. Yeah.
engineering.
Just
Yes,
poke out every
Yeah,
eye
but
of
just
every single creature that with two it comes across.
yeah, and maybe even like other giants. It's just like it's going after other giants because just
Have
like,
a
well,
cluster of
what do you
eyes and
have
only
to-
one is open at a time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know why I brought that up or why I'm talking about it. So we can move on from there. That was just something weird that popped in my head, and I didn't realize that I was unmuted. So my apologies.
Well, I would like you, Wally, leave that mute button alone.
Okay.
You obviously don't have control of it. Just
I'm
leave the
going
mute
back.
button
I'm
alone.
going back.
Yeah, no, don't keep unmuting and unmuting yourself. It's not working. Okay, nobody's going to see or hear anything. Eventually, we'll wind up with losing the cameras as well. So, look, hey, thank you for everybody who presented their ideas. It's great. So, if you are rewatching this, or if you even if you're not rewatching this and you're watching it now, let us know down in the comments how you would go about using the Cyclops any way you like. Just share those ideas with us because I would be interested.